Kate Beth's Curse, The Bell Witch's Eternal Haunting, based on true story, by Clownmask. In the early 1800s, John Bell and his family lived on a farm in what is now Adams, Tennessee. The Bell family experienced a series of terrifying unexplained events that lasted for years. It started in 1817 when John Bell encounters a strange creature in his field, described as a large, dog-like animal with glowing eyes. After this encounter, strange occurrences began at the Bell home. At first it was simple noises, scratching sounds on the walls and floors, knocking and whispers. But the activity escalated quickly. The family would hear voices, some of them laughing or taunting, others just whispering the names of family members. Most disturbing were the physical manifestations, objects being moved around, doors slamming open and shut, and even attacks on family members. The family's young daughter, Betsy, was particularly targeted, being slapped, pinched, and bruised by an invisible force. She reported feeling a sensation like a hand squeezing her throat, as if something or someone was choking her. The family tried to confront the entity, but it only seemed to grow more violent. The entity claimed to be a witch and called itself Kate, later identified as Kate Betts, a neighbor who had been in a bitter dispute with John Bell over a land deal. According to some local legends, Kate Betts had cursed the Bell family, but the true identity of the spirit remains a matter of debate. Despite attempts to bring in religious leaders to cleanse the home and protect the family, the Bell Witch continued its haunting. In fact, it seemed to take particular interest in John Bell himself, who became seriously ill during the haunting. Over time, his condition worsened, his health deteriorated rapidly, and his family believed he was being poisoned. On his deathbed, John allegedly stated, "I have had my time, it's time for me to go." The Bell Witch allegedly celebrated his death, and some even believed the entity was responsible for it. The haunting continued until the early 1820s, after which the activity reportedly ceased. However, many believe the spirit of the Bell Witch still lingers in the area today, with the cave on the Bell farm being considered a hotspot for paranormal activity. After John Bell's death in 1820, the Bell Witch's presence supposedly faded from the Bell family's farm. However, local lore suggests that Kate, the entity, wasn't entirely gone. There are numerous reports and eerie accounts that she would still appear from time to time. Some say she would communicate with people who dared to venture too close to the cave or the Bell property. In fact, during the years that followed, people in the surrounding area, particularly those who lived near the Bell farm, reported strange occurrences. There were whispers of eerie lights glowing near the Bell graveyard at night, and some claimed to hear faint voices in the wind, beckoning travelers to come closer. Some said that in certain spots on the property the air felt heavy and thick, as if something oppressive lingered. As for the Bell family's legacy, their lives were never quite the same. The eldest Bell's son, Richard, reportedly never returned to the family farm after his father's death. Some say he moved far away, hoping to escape the curse. Others claim that he was too terrified to ever set foot back in Adams, Tennessee. The Bell family's remaining members were haunted by their experiences for the rest of their lives, with some even claiming to experience physical ailments as a result of the witch's lingering influence. Bell Witch's influence on history. The Bell Witch's story became more than just local folklore. It captured the imagination of people all across the country. As word of the haunting spread, it garnered attention from various figures in the early 19th century, including Andrew Jackson, who was a general at the time. The legend goes that in the 1820s, Jackson and a group of his men visited the Bell farm, intrigued by the stories of the Bell Witch. They spent the night on the property to see for themselves if the ghostly entity was real. And when the Vedderak was burned down, Semenisaru, according to the tale, the entity taunted Jackson and his men, even going so far as to knock on their wagon, which caused the men to flee in fear. Jackson himself is said to have remarked, "I'd rather face a battalion of men than another night with that witch." Modern sightings in the Bell Witch Cave. The Bell Witch story has been passed down through generations, and today, the Bell Witch Cave remains a popular tourist destination for those interested in paranormal activity. Despite the name Simitios Profigat, The story in Bell which is telegetin mitios o medios o profiget. In the year, visitors report strange occurrences in and around the cave, like hearing voices when no one is around, feeling a sudden drop in temperature, or even experiencing unexplained physical sensations like pressure on the chest or being touched by unseen hands. Some who have visited the cave claim to have seen apparitions, while others say they felt an intense sense of dread or a feeling of being watched. The nearby town of Adams still feels the shadows of the Bell Witch haunting its history, and many people claim that the spirit never truly left. The Bell Witch is not just a ghost, it's part of the folklore of the region, something deeply rooted in the soil and the stories of the people who live there. It's chilling to think that the Bell Witch's reign of terror left such an indelible mark on the land and its people. It's part of the folklore of the region, something deeply rooted in the soil, and in history it's thrilling to speak and live to the ghost of it. What's even more unsettling is how the story has continued to captivate new generations, with sightings and experiences still reported today. Whether or not the Bell Witch truly exists as an entity, or if it's simply an elaborate tale spun by history, it remains one of the most enduring and terrifying stories in American folklore. What do you think? Just a ghost story? Or is there something more sinister to the Bell Witch legend? Shalthera semienus? Semienus kusir nami, the Bell Witch's lasting curse. As time passed, the Bell Witch's story became more than just local folklore. It evolved into a full-blown American supernatural myth. The haunting has lingered in the American consciousness for over 200 years. And the stories continue to grow, each new telling adding layers to the mystery. According to some accounts, after John Bell's death, the witch's presence didn't fade completely. In fact, there were rumors that Kate Batts, or the spirit claiming to be her, had not only cursed the Bell family, but also placed a curse on the entire region. Some people believed that anyone who tried to profit off the land or even disturb the site would fall victim to bad luck, sickness, or death. For instance, when one of the Bell descendants, a man named Charles Bell, tried to farm the property many years later, he reportedly became ill and eventually died under mysterious circumstances. Whether this was the lingering curse of the Bell Witch or a tragic coincidence, it fueled the belief that the entity's influence extended well beyond the immediate family. The haunted Bell Witch Cave. The most notorious location tied to the Bell Witch legend is the Bell Witch Cave, located near the original Bell family farm. The cave, which sits near the banks of the Red River, has long been considered a focal point of the haunting. Many believe that Kate Batts, or the spirit that haunted the Bell family, used the cave as a sort of lair or portal to manifest her supernatural power. People who have explored the cave report strange sensations. Many say they feel an oppressive energy, as though something or someone is watching them. Others have heard whispers, laughter, or even the sound of footsteps behind them, even when they are alone. One of the most eerie reports comes from a group of cave explorers who claimed they saw the faint outline of a figure standing in the shadows, only for it to vanish as they approached. Perhaps the most unsettling claim involves the feeling of being physically touched. Several individuals have said that, as they entered the cave, they felt an invisible hand on their shoulder or neck. Some have described the sensation of a cold breath on their face, or the unmistakable feeling of being pushed, as if something wanted them to leave. It's as though the Bell Witch herself is still guarding the cave, warning people to stay away. The Bell Witch's final words. In the years following the events of the Bell Witch haunting, there have been many reports of mysterious dreams and visions tied to Kate Batts. One of the most haunting aspects of the legend is the final words that the spirit allegedly spoke before she left the Bell family. In the years after John Bell's death, some local residents claimed to have encountered Kate's ghost. They reported hearing her voice, still defiant and filled with anger, warning people to stay off the Bell property. In one of these accounts, the ghost supposedly said, "I will be back." The spirit also allegedly said that her mission had been to punish John Bell for his alleged wrongdoings, and she wasn't done with the Bell family yet. Some stories even suggest that Kate Bat's ghost did return intermittently over the following decades, haunting the land and sometimes appearing to locals in the form of an ethereal shadow figure. However, her visits grew more sporadic, and many people believed that the Bell Witch had finally moved on. But here's the truly eerie part. Some believe that Kate Bats is not gone at all. According to local folklore, her spirit is still waiting for someone or something specific to release her from her curse. What that release would look like is anyone's guess, but it has kept the story of the Bell Witch alive and well in popular culture. Modern-day encounters, the Bell Witch hunting has survived into the modern era, and some say that the spirit still affects people to this day. Visitors who venture to the Bell Witch Cave or the surrounding area sometimes report unsettling experiences, and there are whispers that the Bell Witch is still watching. For example, in 2006, a group of paranormal investigators visiting the Bell Witch Cave recorded strange EVPs, electronic voice phenomena, and captured images of what they believed were ghostly figures in the cave. The investigators claimed to hear a woman's voice saying, "Get out," followed by the sound of footsteps. Some of the members reported feeling a cold, suffocating presence surrounding them, and they claimed that their equipment malfunctioned throughout the investigation. One of the investigators later spoke about feeling a weight on his chest, and his voice shook as he said he could sense a deep anger in the air, almost as if the spirit was still holding a grudge after all these years. This is Haleango Desareb Deveniven Tuzayotish. It's these experiences that keep the legend alive, and they fuel speculation that the Bell Witch has never really left. Why does the Bell Witch still haunt us? What makes the Bell Witch so enduring is its combination of natural and supernatural elements. The Bell Witch didn't just rattle chains or flicker lights, she physically harmed the Bell family, made herself known through disturbing voices and attacks, and even seemed to have the power to kill. It wasn't just a haunting, it was an active presence, a malicious force that seemed intent on causing pain and fear. In addition, the story is wrapped up in human emotions and relationships: grief, betrayal, anger, and jealousy. The personal vendetta that Kate Bats is believed to have had against John Bell, paired with the possibility that she used supernatural powers to carry out her revenge, makes the story feel real. It's a relatable, primal fear, a fear of something so much larger and more powerful than we are. Some also suggest that the Bell Witch legend plays on our fear of the unknown. What was Kate Bats really capable of? How much power did she have over the Bell family? The fact that these questions have no clear answers only adds to the legend's strength. So, is the Bell Witch a ghost? A curse? Or simply an elaborate tale spun over generations? For many, the Bell Witch remains a terrifying reminder that some forces, whether supernatural or psychological, never truly fade away. What do you think? Did the Bell Witch haunt the family, or was it all an elaborate hoax? Could there still be something out there, lurking in the shadows, waiting to make itself known again? The final curse of the Bell Witch. As the years wore on, the Bell Witch's haunting became more than just a local curiosity. It became part of Tennessee's darker folklore. Over the decades, the Bell Witch Cave remained a site of intrigue, attracting those with a thirst for thrills, as well as paranormal investigators hoping to uncover more of the entity's mystery. But the truth, it seemed, was more elusive than ever. In 1828, the year after John Bell's death, it was rumored that Kate Bats herself had appeared one final time, warning anyone who ventured too close to the Bell farm. But the ghost was said to have spoken cryptic words, her voice carried on the wind. "I will be back when the time is right." For many, these words were a simple threat, but some believed Kate Bats had more than just vengeance on her mind. Some whispered that the spirit of the Bell Witch sought something far darker, a completion of her curse, perhaps. It seemed that the Bell Witch's power didn't end with the Bell family. It lingered, bound to the land, waiting for the right moment to resurface and claim more souls. Over the next century, sightings of strange lights near the cave, flickering lanterns in the distance, and the sounds of voices carrying on the wind became common. Locals spoke of seeing shadowy figures near the Bell graveyard at night, but for the most part, the Bell Witch's activity faded from public attention. Yet the legend lived on, growing more powerful in the hearts and minds of those who believed. A new generation of hauntings. It wasn't until the 20th century that interest in the Bell Witch would return with full force. The rise of paranormal investigation in the 1973, a group of professional ghost hunters investigated the Bell Witch Cave using new technology to document any strange occurrences. They reported hearing tapping sounds, whispers, and cold spots within the cave, no different from the stories passed down through the generations. But it wasn't until the 1990th that the real terror began. A group of young people, fascinated by the legend, decided to spend the night in the cave, daring each other to confront the spirit of the Bell Witch. As they set up their tents near the cave entrance, they were said to have felt a suffocating heaviness in the air. One by one, they experienced vivid nightmares of a woman's voice calling to them. First gentle, then angry. When they woke, one of the young men found scratches across his back that hadn't been there before. The group fled the site, but the damage had been done. The Bell Witch was no longer just a ghost story. It was real, and she seemed to have returned, her presence felt once more by those who dared to trespass. The Bell Witch's revenge. But the most chilling part of the Bell Witch saga isn't what happened in the past, but what may still be unfolding. As recently as 2008, a paranormal investigation team visiting the Bell Witch Cave claimed to have encountered a strange entity, one they couldn't explain. This particular group was using high-tech equipment, including infrared cameras and EVP recorders. When they entered the cave, they immediately felt a sudden drop in temperature. The air was thick, almost suffocating. They began to hear faint whispers on the EVP recordings, despite being alone. "Get out, you'll be next. I'm waiting." Then something more physical happened. One of the investigators felt his foot caught by an unseen force, causing him to trip and fall forward. He screamed for help, but no one had touched him. That was the moment the team realized they were not alone. But the most disturbing thing occurred when one investigator later reviewed the footage. As he was reviewing a camera feed, he saw a shadowy figure standing near the entrance of the cave, an outline that had not been visible to anyone at the time. The figure remained motionless for several seconds before it abruptly disappeared. The team left the site immediately, feeling the presence of something far more malicious than they had expected. The legend lives on. Now, the Bell Witch is more than just a ghost story or a haunting. It has become part of a larger cultural phenomenon. The cave is a popular tourist attraction, though many who visit still report strange sensations, sounds, and feelings of dread when near the area. Some say the Bell Witch has moved on, while others are convinced she waits patiently for the next person to unknowingly cross her path. It's easy to dismiss the Bell Witch as myth, to chalk it up to overactive imaginations or folklore passed down by the fearful. But for those who have been affected, those who have felt the physical pressure of unseen hands or heard the cruel voice in the wind, the story feels far too real to ignore. For some, the curse of the Bell Witch remains unfinished, an unresolved evil bound to the land itself, waiting for the right time to strike again. Whether it's the lingering presence of Kate Batts herself or the malevolent force she left behind, one thing is certain: the Bell Witch will never truly be gone. She waits. And if you're ever near the cave on a dark, moonless night, or walking along the quiet path that leads to the old Bell family farm, you might feel her watching you too. You might even hear her voice, calling out from the shadows, reminding you that some curses don't ever end. The final thought. So, is the Bell Witch real? Is she simply a piece of folklore passed down through generations? Or is she something far more terrifying? An ancient curse that can never be fully undone, waiting to exact its vengeance on anyone who dares to challenge it? The legend of the Bell Witch is a warning, a tale of power, anger, and revenge. A warning that some things in the world are best left undisturbed, because once you've been marked by the Bell Witch, you might never be able to escape her reach. She's Kukasho. And she speaks feminine, Piskna on second order, station for marriages. And no matter how many years pass, you can't outrun a curse that has been waiting for centuries. I think that wraps up the legend of the Bell Witch with as much mystery and tension as the story demands. What do you think? Does the Bell Witch still haunt Tennessee, or is she simply a chilling tale?